Okay, so the first thing I need to do is create the background for my dragonfly. So my plan is I wanted to make a really big, kind of plain black and white swipe. And I want to dry that and put resin on it before I even start to make my skins for my dragonfly. So the whole plan behind this piece was I wanted to have a little bit of original organic fluid art behind my dragonfly, and then make a bunch of paint skins in different beautiful iridescent piggy colors to cut out on my Cameo machine and actually stick down in the shape of a dragonfly on top of my black and white swipe. So I'm going to need to spin this swipe out really, really well and make it very, very thin if I'm going to have it dry in time so I can pop a coat of resin on it and have that cure. I've actually had that resin curing for 3 to 4 weeks. It's definitely rock hard now, and it's the perfect surface for me to start to assemble my dragonfly skins. So as you'll see a little bit later, I decide I want to add something a little bit extra special also to the piece. So you will see me cutting out some different types of vinyl on my Cameo Silhouette cutting machine. And then just layering them on to be a bit of a backdrop for my dragonfly so I can kind of separate it a little bit from this swipe. I wanted to have some borders around it. I didn't sort of want to just cut the dragonfly up into skins and just plonk it on. I really wanted to have some sort of border in between my dragonfly skins and this background. So as you'll see, I think I chose something really cool, but we'll get to that part a little bit later. So I'm basically just trying to get this as even as I can, and at this point I'm a little bit worried about the white area. Even though I know from all my experience with swipes and blooms, I know that it's not going to stay like that. I know that the cells are going to join up, but at this stage I start to realize I'm going to be left with a little bit on the side that isn't quite as crisp lacing as the rest of the surface of the board. It ends up being okay, but I am getting a little bit concerned at this point that it's not all the same the whole way around on the board. So I think I'm going to try to spin it out a little bit more to see if I can get it a little bit more even. So I chose a black and white background because I really wanted my dragonfly that sits on top to really stick right out. I want it to pop off the backdrop. So because I'm using so many sparkly piggy colors and my other little secret weapon that you'll see me using soon, I definitely wanted it to be a little bit more plain behind it. Okay, so I'm going to give it one more spin, just for good measure. And one more. I think that's it. Am I done? I really did want to get that quite thin on the top. I tried to get this one to dry as quickly as possible so I could get that resin on it. I was a little bit worried about getting it done in time to have it sitting. I really wanted it to sit for a couple of weeks because as you'll see a bit later on, when you are fixing skins on top of resin and sticky vinyl sheets on top of cured resin, most of the time they peel off fine, but I really didn't want my vinyl to leave a mark on the resin if I had to move it. If I had to peel it back off and move it to a different place, I was really worried about that. So the longer your resin cures for, the more chance there is that you will be able to clean off any kind of sticky marks that the vinyl leaves if you get it in the wrong place. Haven't really had any trouble with that so far, but yeah, I guess it's a possibility. So I definitely have to get at least one really good coat of resin on this swipe. So that piece has been drying for at least a few days, so it's nice and dry and ready for the resin. Maybe not as long as some people think you should wait, but I believe 2 to 3 days, as long as it's touch dry. I haven't had any problem putting resin on a piece that's that fresh. Now you'll notice I'm taping around the board and I'm leaving a tiny little bit at the top. I'm not taping right up to the very, very, very top because I do believe that taping it that way allows the resin to dome a lot easier on the edges if it doesn't have a sharp piece of tape there. I've also let some tape overhang down the bottom because I really love how the resin can just drip off the tape and it doesn't leave any messy kind of drips on the bottom that needs sanding off, or I even hate peeling drips off that are on tape. I'd just much rather that they drip off the bottom of the tape, and then when you take the tape off, it peels the drips off as well. They're not even attached to the board, they're not even anywhere near the board, so it makes it really easy to remove them. It's my favourite way anyway. So if you're going to be spreading resin with a glove, I do suggest having 2 pairs on the one hand because if you do get a little hole in your one single pair of gloves, it's really quite easy for the resin to seep in and get inside the glove, and you don't want to have resin on your skin or your hands. So always double glove, which I don't actually know if I did in this video, but I highly recommend doing as I say and not as I do. Okay, so moving on now to the paint skins. So it's even more important for these paint skins to be really, really thin, even more important than the base being thin on the board that I wanted to dry quickly. The reason I want these thin is much more important because I want them to be able to go through my Cameo Silhouette cutting machine, and I don't want any moist paint. I don't want any of my pillow to still be a bit squishy. It can damage the cutting blade in your machine, and it just prefers to cut thin paint skins. So there's a couple of bits missing to this video where I kind of got so excited about doing it I forgot to put the camera on and film it. So there's a couple of little chunks missing, but I will fill in the gaps for you when we get to that point. So at the moment, I'm just trying to make some pretty dragonfly colours. I don't even end up using all of these, but I decided I wanted to have quite a bit of variety to choose from. So at this point, I'm thinking I want to put some bright neon hustle, This Little Piggy hustle in my dragonfly. So here I am making quite a large skin to dry. And I can see some parts in there that I think are going to go really, really well. But in the end, I don't think I ended up using any of this one. But anyway, we'll leave it in here because it's quite pretty, and might actually be using one of the other dragonflies I cut out of these skins that I didn't particularly use in this piece, but I have put them aside to make another one that I can choose for a different background, make it a little bit different. So yeah, I always keep my spare skins. Even if I don't use them right away, I always put them aside to use them a little bit later. Okay, so right now we're looking at a bit of strobing. So that is when the light flickers. Okay, so this flickering light is because I'm trying to film from my phone, and my lights that I have in the studio are actually shooting it, they're recording at the same speed as each other. So as confusing as that sounds, I don't know, Mitchell told me that that's why you get the strobing and the flickering. I don't know why sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't, but it tends to be bad when everything is very white. So now I've got the colours on it stopped, which is great because this particular skin I'm making, I believe, is the one that I use for my dragonfly in the end. So I don't know whether you'll recognise parts of this skin later on when I put my dragonfly on. I didn't use all of it, but I just chose the parts that I liked the best for the wings and also the body. And yeah, I was really happy with the way this one turned out. I think I did 3 skins altogether, but I really only liked this one in the end. Sometimes you don't know until you've got a lot of skins to choose from and you're sort of cutting bits up out of each of them, and then yeah, I ended up deciding that this one just fit the bill. It had the beautiful dragonfly colours. Just pulling a chunk of paint out there. It's never good to drag a chunk across your painting without using the cell activator. It's going to make a nasty big swipe area where it will probably drag the pillow paint up. So at this point I'm not that concerned about this particular pour not really looking that great. I'm really just trying to get the bits and pieces in it somewhere. So I'm not being fussy about the overall outcome of this particular swipe. I really just want to make sure I've got some of the pieces in there with the colours that I wanted to use. So I'm trying to keep some of that lemon sorbet. I want some of that pinky colour, but really it's the bluey greeny colour towards the middle there that I was mostly interested in. It's got a bit of turquoise and a bit of a greeny colour, and I think it's going to be perfect for my dragonfly's wings, and I'm also looking at that, thinking I might do the body from that colour as well. So we'll just have to wait and see which parts I chose, but here I am painting the third skin. This one I just wanted to do a bit of solid colour that was very, very shimmery. Now I didn't end up using any of this skin either, but it is very, very kind of authentic dragonfly-ish colours. So I've definitely got that one put aside for another project. I think it's just perfect for the wings, but for this one I didn't end up using it because it ended up being a little bit dark. But again, I just wanted to have that choice at the end to just pick the pieces that I thought were going to work the best. It's never a problem having too many skins, by the way. If you just spin them out and pop them in the cupboard to dry, then you can just peel them off the backing sheet and store them until you're ready to use them. It's kind of a bit frustrating having no skins dry when you decide you want to make a painting made from paint skins. So they do take a couple of days to dry, and then it's another couple of days beyond that you can actually cut them up or use them. So yeah, thinking in advance, I'm already starting to make some more skins today for another project I've got in mind that I'm not even going to start for another couple of weeks. I just want to have them ready so they're nice and dry. So I had a little bit too much paint for a Fluid Art Co pour mat that size. That's a 12-inch pour mat. The thing I love about doing the skins on the 12-inch ones is it covers the entire sheet, and then it's really quite satisfying when you peel the whole sheet off in one go, and it's got beautiful, nice circular edges. Okay, so here is Mr. Cameo machine. So I was really, really frightened of this machine, but lucky I have my amazing assistant Beck, who was a little bit familiar with it when we were making earrings together. So she's extremely talented on this machine. If it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't have even been able to cut these out. So here's my little secret weapon. It's a piece of holographic vinyl. Now, this holographic vinyl sheeting, which I think it's what it's called, is sticky on the back. So as you can see, it's cut my dragonfly out. So we've transferred the cut out dragonfly to a sticky piece of transfer sheet there, you can see with the grid on it. What that does, and here I am laying a black dragonfly inside the holographic dragonfly. I'm transferring it in the same way as I transferred the holographic one. It's basically just with a sticky transfer sheet that you can place down, and when you're on top of your vinyl shape, and when you peel it up, it grabs it, and it's a really cool way to then transfer it onto whatever else you want. In my case, it was my black and white swipe board. So now we're cutting out the wings. This all happens by computer. So basically there's a program on the computer sitting next to the Cameo machine. Okay, so once we have cut out the dragonfly wings and the dragonfly body from these strips here, I get to choose which ones I actually want to use. So I wanted to cut out quite a lot of them, so I had a lot of choice. So here are the wings. I've got 2 sets of wings to choose from, and the reason they look like wings now is we've peeled all the outside back of the skin off and just left the shapes that we cut out and wanted to use. So now we have to remove all of the little parts inside that I've got the machine to cut out, because obviously dragonflies have these kind of beautiful wings with the little sort of cutouts in the middle. So I was really happy with the middle part of that blue.
Perfection.
Yep.
Ooh. Is that sticky?
We've got to glue it.
What are we doing? It's not a fucking vinyl. It's not a
Put glue on it.
Okay, just whip me back.
Okay, so that was quite funny. I just decided to try to stick something onto the board that wasn't sticky. Anyway, lesson learned, paint skins are not vinyl and they are not sticky. So now I get the glue out. Well, actually it's matte medium by Liquitex, but I use it as an adhesive. I think it's a really cool glue for skins and prints and, you know, decoupage, collage. It's a really versatile product. So you could use Joe Sonia Gloss Varnish if you don't have any matte medium. It's going to work in the same way and give you a little bit of room to move your skins around before you're happy with exactly where they are. So basically I've got my body of my dragonfly. It's made out of my paint swipe. Trying to lay it as best I can in the middle. I didn't want to try to place my entire dragonfly down together because obviously I can't transfer it with the transfer sheet because there's no sticky on the back of it. So here I am having to glue in the pieces like a puzzle, which ended up working better for me anyway because I could really position the body without worrying about the wings, and I did the wings separately. So this was it's actually a perfect outcome. I've never done this before. I wasn't sure if the matte medium was going to leave a residue on top of the matte black vinyl that I put down as the second layer on top of the holographic vinyl. But in the end, I could kind of just rub it into the black area and it kind of just dried up, and you know, the plan is to go over with a top coat of resin anyway. So I wasn't too worried about leaving a mark. I really just wanted to make sure I got these dragonfly wings on. Before the matte medium started to dry up too much, I just need to get them fused down enough for them to stick while I put the resin over the top, because if they're not if all the sides and edges aren't down, the resin might actually try to seep underneath it when I put the top layer on. So I used a really, really thin layer of matte medium because I didn't really want any spillage coming out from you know, the inside or the outside of those wings. So it was just the perfect amount really, just to make it tacky enough to stick all of the edges of the skin down. So at this stage I'm really happy with how Mr. Dragonfly is looking. I'm glad I chose to leave just a 4 to 5 millimeter amount of the holographic and the black vinyl, just to give him a little bit of a border. And so as you can see there, the holographic vinyl, you're seeing a lot of the orangey, pinky kind of fiery color there, but it also goes a beautiful gold and a really pale kind of light green color on a different angle. So you can see my little palm tree in the corner there. I forgot to take it out of view, but it was getting a coat of resin at the same time. So I kind of set it up and I had it all level, and I didn't want to move it. So try and ignore the tree and just focus on Mr. Dragonfly. So I'm just putting this extra coat of resin on to seal everything in and make it all glossy. I'm not sure at this stage what the holographic paper is going to do underneath the resin, because I've never coated holographic paper before. In fact, I've never even used holographic paper. So I'm thinking, oh gosh, I hope it doesn't tarnish it. I hope it doesn't make it look weird. Because I'm so happy with Mr. Dragonfly at this point. I'm just really worried that this resin is going to do something funky to the vinyl. In the end, it worked out perfectly, and I was really happy with the end result. Just ignore my dog, he's angry. He'll get over it. Okay, so here I am torching the bubbles. Just want to give it a nice even torch. I did end up with 2 air bubbles in the end piece, so I'm definitely going to have to sand the bigger one of those bubbles back and put a 3rd coat on, which I will do at some point when I decide to get it back out from the corner and put another coat of resin on it. I have a lot of things in the corner that have that need another coat of resin, as I'm sure a lot of you do, and we get to it when we can, or when it desperately just needs it, because maybe somebody wants to buy it. So here I am putting a tent over the top of Mr. Dragonfly, and I'm also going to put a sheet of vinyl tablecloth over the top of that. The reason I like to use that rather than a cotton sheet is it's very light, and it won't affect the tent. It's not going to get too heavy on top of the tent and push the tent onto the painting. But just to be sure, I'm going to pop a couple of taller little pillars underneath each side of this tent to just make sure it's definitely not going to touch the dragonfly. And so the next day when I pulled him out, this is what he looks like. I'm really happy with the holographic. It's going all kinds of different colors in the sun out there. So thank you heaps for watching, guys. Don't forget to head over to Rain and Pause to watch Mitchell's amazing construction of his dragonfly. The description below should have a link to also Nikki and Lisa's channels, who just went before me. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching all of our, all of our projects with the dragonfly theme. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Bye for now.